Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 9 o'clock. It's time for another video. And today I want to talk to you about something I'm very passionate about. Now, to be clear, there's lots of things I'm passionate about, lots of things I absolutely love. My family, my wife, my daughter, my son, my dog. However, there's three things that I have been absolutely obsessed with since I really, as far back as I can remember. Now, the first, obviously, is magic. If you're watching this, you know how obsessed I am about magic. My entire life revolves around magic. I'm either creating magic, I'm performing magic, I'm working on somebody else's creations. I run 3 different companies, 2 of which deliver thousands of events, magicians to events all over the whole world. I'm working on their acts. I'm working with Ryland and Thea. I'm off teching their show. I'm rehearsing with them. I'm helping somebody else. Magic is a big part of my life. And even when I'm having family time, I'm normally talking to my son about magic, talking to my daughter about magic, and even me and my wife a lot of the time, because we run 2 event companies all focused on magic. A lot of our talk is around magic. I'm cool with that because I love magic and I can never get enough of it. Now, the second thing I'm just as equally passionate about is marketing. Not just marketing, but business in general, but specifically marketing and sales. I love learning new marketing strategies and refining sales processes. Now, my background is marketing. I built my businesses up through marketing, and I've always tried to innovate. I've always tried to be doing something that nobody else does. I like to do competitor analysis on people I'm competing against and going, well, okay, what is it that we can innovate? Where can we take this that we're not doing at the moment? I'm currently building a ton of WhatsApp integration and automation into the infrastructure of my company to really kind of catapult the sales and the marketing process. Because I honestly believe if you're not going forward, then you're falling backwards. And so I'm always trying to innovate. In fact, our company values, we have 5 company values, and one of them is innovation. I love marketing. In fact, you're more likely to see me reading a marketing book these days than you would be a magic book. Marketing for me is super fun. And not just marketing, but the sales process as well. Learning how to sell and working out the best way to actually close a deal. You know, that sort of thing is just stuff that I really enjoy talking about, which is why I've talked a lot of the time in the past on this channel about how magicians can get more gigs and how to, capitalize on this lead generation thing and that lead generation thing. So I love marketing. I love magic. And the other thing, and if you've been a fan of this channel for a while, you'll have seen me talking about wrestling. From time to time on the Q&A on a Sunday, there'll be a question about wrestling. What did you think of this wrestling event? What did you think of that wrestling event? I love wrestling. You know, I can't remember exactly when I started watching wrestling. I feel like it was WrestleMania 3, but it might have been me watching old VHS tapes. I can't remember exactly. But all I know is as far back as I can remember, I have loved wrestling. I've loved wrestling when it wasn't cool to love wrestling. I've loved wrestling in the NWO days when everybody was watching it. I've just always been a wrestling fan. I try whenever possible to stay up late to watch Raw and SmackDown and NXT and AEW and TNA, and although I'm very loyal to WWE, I love all organizations. I just find wrestling fascinating, and that's the subject of today's video, because you see, I talked about me being into business. I also get booked an awful lot as a motivational speaker and a business analyst. Outside of magic, nothing to do with magic, I'll get booked by organizations and individuals and companies to help them. I've been business coach to many small to medium-sized businesses in the past, and I've also spoke at literally hundreds of events. And normally I speak about business growth, how to succeed in business, how to get more leads, how to go from here to here. And one of the things that I've been booked to talk about an awful lot is comparing business growth to various different subjects. So the most popular talk I've ever done, that I still get booked for an awful lot today, is what a business owner can learn from a professional magician. And I talk about how you can take ideas and concepts in magic and you can apply them to business to help generate more leads and become more successful in business. And I've done that in the past with several subjects. I've done what business owners can learn from watching Peppa Pig, for what business owners can learn from watching Doctor Who, for what business owners can learn from watching The Walking Dead, and what business owners can learn from watching wrestling. And then you know what I realized recently? Magicians could learn a hell of a lot from professional wrestling, and I'm not even joking. Now, I know what you're thinking. What's wrestling got to do with magic? But stick with me, because I honestly believe that if you're a magician and you're not studying the psychology, the structure, and the performance of pro wrestling, you're missing out on one of the most powerful blueprints for becoming a better performer. Let me explain. We'll start off by talking about kayfabe. First point. Now, in wrestling, there's a concept called kayfabe. It's the idea that everything, the matches, the rivalry, the characters, it's all real, at least within the show. And for decades, wrestlers lived that illusion 24/7. Heels stayed heels. Now a heel is a bad guy. Faces stayed faces. Now faces are the good guys. You'll never see a bad guy shaking hands with a good guy at an airport, because if the illusion breaks, the magic dies. It went so far in the 80s and the 90s that you'd have people coming in like the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, whose gimmick would be this multi-millionaire that thought he could buy his way to anything, that would literally be given thousands and thousands of dollars and would be told, hey, buy everything with $100 bill, throw money around left, right, and center, because it was important for the general public to see that he lived the character that he portrayed on TV. You'd have many situations in the past where wrestlers would travel to different events, and you could never have a good guy with a good guy. You can have a bad guy with a bad guy. In fact, one of the biggest pivotal moments in the WWE was something called the curtain call, which is where Shawn Michaels and Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Triple H, who now basically effectively is the CEO of WWE, but Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, they were all best of friends behind the scenes. Even though a couple of them were good guys, a couple of them are bad guys, they were actually best of friends. They had this little group called the Clique backstage. And two of them, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, were actually leaving to go to WCW. And on a house show, one night, the final night before Kevin and Scott left to go to WCW, they all came out of character and hugged and did this click sign, and it was a big problem back in the 90s, because it was the first time that people saw good guys and bad guys hanging around together. You just didn't see that. Now think about that for a second. Isn't that exactly what we're doing in magic? We're asking the audience to suspend their disbelief, to believe that the coin really has vanished and the card really jumped, and that mind really got read. How often do magicians break kayfabe? We wink, we smile knowingly, we say things like, well, if it worked, or let's hope this goes right. And in doing that, we shatter the illusion. If you want to be a better magician, take a page out of wrestling's book. Never break kayfabe. Own your performance. Live in the moment. The moment you treat like a trick, the moment you treat it like a trick, the audience will too. Now, I'm going to revisit this later on, because that did change, especially in the last sort of 10, 15, 20 years. And kayfabe is not as big a deal as it was back then. But still, to this day, the lines between storyline and reality get blurred quite a lot, and that's when the best storylines in wrestling happen. And that's the same thing with magic. So the first point that I can make is apply kayfabe to your magic, and when you do something amazing, own it. Let people think you're the greatest magician of all time. I don't mean try to make people believe that magic's real. You guys know that I'm not into that, but I'm talking about giving them that magical moment. Because you see, the thing is, if people want to book a magician, it's because they've experienced something like wonder that they absolutely love. How do you get them to want to book a magician? How do you get them to want to book you for their event? By giving them that moment of wonder. Never trivialize it. Let it stay with them, because then when they need a magician, they will come for you. Okay, let's look at point 2, the heel and the face. Now, as I said before, in wrestling, there's two core characters, the heel and the face. The face is the quintessential good guy, the hero, the person the crowd gets behind. The heel, well, that's the villain, the cheat, the manipulator, the one the audience loves to hate. And it's very clearly defined roles. Now, through the years in wrestling, these roles have gone back and forth, and you've got tweeners as well, and you can't really tell which way they go. But generally, as a rule, you've got the hero and you've got the villain. You've got the face and you've got the heel. Now that applies to magic. Some magicians are natural faces. They're charming, they're likable. You want them to win. Others are heels, they're smug, they rub it in, they gaslight the audience into disbelief. Now, neither's right or wrong, but what is important is understanding your character and picking a lane. The reason WWE became so popular and continues to be so popular, or one of the reasons, is because they understand characterization. If you're just watching a random wrestler that you don't know and you know nothing about that person, and they just walk to the ring in black trunks and black boots, you don't care whether they win, lose, or draw. You're not invested in them as a person. You become invested in them when you understand their character. That's important. Too many magicians haven't figured out their character yet. They bounce between styles and the audience doesn't know how to feel. That you'll and this is something I'm hyper aware of. When I do a show, I know exactly what my character is. My character is a sarcastic. I honestly think if I was a wrestler, I would be a heel. I would be the bad guy because I go out on stage, I take the mick out of everybody, I take the mick out of myself, but people realize I'm doing it with a tongue-in-cheek attitude. Whether you know whether you're the hero or the villain, what am I trying to say here? Whether you are a hero or a villain, it's really important to decide in your head who you are and what your character is. Because once they understand what your character is, once they understand who you are, they're going to become more invested in you as a performer. More importantly, that will lead to more gigs. That will lead to more bookings. You look at somebody like, and I always use this as an example because I think his character's amazing, but you look at somebody like the performing nerd, you look at somebody like Tom Crosby, who has absolutely nailed his character and then some. Tom doesn't perform tricks, he tells stories. And that's the important thing, you see. At its core, wrestling isn't about the moves. It's not about who can do the best suplex. Despite what AEW will tell you, it's not about the moves. It's not about doing 1,000 moves in 5 minutes. It's about the emotion behind them. It's about the stories. And it's about, because you see, people will spend money when they want to see a story unfold. I remember listening to Jim Cornette once, and he talked about why wrestling was popular. And he said, I went to imagine that you're walking down the street, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly, but it was something like, I went to imagine you walking down the street, and you see a little guy, and you see a big guy, and they're having an argument. And the big guy is really, really, really like being a bully to the little guy, pushing him around, slapping him around the face. You'd stop and you would watch. And now I want to imagine that the big guy, the little guy, starts like hitting the big guy, and the big guy goes down. You're now invested in this. There's a chance you'd want to spend a couple of dollars to see what would happen, right? That's basically effectively wrestling. People will spend money when there's emotion and the story behind what they're seeing. It's the same with magic. It's not about a double lift. It's not about who's got the best pass. It's not about who's got the best classic palm. It's about how the audience feels when the card changes. It's about how the audience feels when the coin vanishes. And the way you get them to feel is give them context, give them story. I'm not saying be a storyteller. I'm not a storyteller. But get them interested. Get them wanting to watch what you're doing. That is the single most important thing as a magician. You can go out and you can perform, and unless you have some presentational ability, unless you're entertaining, it's never going to lead to anything. Okay, section number 3. Let's talk about promos. What is a promo? Well, in wrestling, a promo is when a character grabs the mic and sells a story. They hype the match, they insult their rival, they get the crowd on their feet before anyone's even thrown a punch. You know, you think about some of the most iconic moments in wrestling history, it's normally revolving around some sort of promo. You look at somebody like John Cena, you look at somebody like The Rock. Both of them are incredible at promos, and that's probably why they've achieved so much success in Hollywood. You look at one of the most popular wrestlers of all time at the moment, CM Punk, who really kind of shot to fame when he did his pipe bomb promo many years ago, when he went off against the WWE and everybody associated with the WWE. Promos sell the event. It sells people on buying a ticket to watch whatever happens. You look at somebody like Paul Heyman. He's one of the greatest promo guys in the world. He can come out and he can spend 5 minutes on the mic and make everybody super excited and wanting to drop as much money as they can in order to watch the story unfold even further. Now, here's what most magicians miss. Your script is your promo. It's how you frame the effect. It's how you control the energy. It's how you connect with your audience before the magic even starts. Watch any great wrestling promo. The Rock, Ric Flair, Cody Rhodes, Dusty Rhodes, MJF. They've got rhythm, they've got timing, they've got structure. They pause at the right moment. They repeat key lines. They feed off the crowd. They use eye contact. And they're more than happy to deviate from the script if something else happens. If somebody makes a comment in the audience, they're happy to go off script to actually acknowledge that and do something with that before they move back on script. Why aren't we doing that in magic? Why do we have so many magicians mumbling their way through patter like they're reading off a napkin? You need to learn to cut a promo. Stand in front of the mirror, script your lines, build anticipation, create drama, make them care before the trick even begins. Standing on stage as a close-up magician, that's vitally important. But when you are a stage magician, it's even more important. Now, I'm not saying be completely scripted. One of Ryland's problems that he had when he was younger was he would just read off a script. He's become such a much better performer since he's understood that there are certain things that he needs to have happen as he's talking to the audience, but he's happy to kind of go off script and bounce in different directions depending. Have that ability, build that ability in. But honestly, if you have you walk on stage and you deliver a promo correctly in 2 or 3 minutes, that's going to build so much more energy towards a performance than any moves will. Because when you can work a crowd like a wrestler, you will never have a flat show again. Okay, part 4, selling the move. There's a concept in wrestling called selling. If someone hits you with a steel chair and you pop back up like nothing's happened, the audience won't believe it. You've got to show it, sell it. You've got to sell the pain, react, make it look real. And that's really, really important. And it's one of my issues with AEW. Now, I love AEW, don't get me wrong, and I love people like Will Ospreay. But my issue with it is it kind of looks a lot like choreographed gymnastics, where, you know, they'll hit a move and 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 a move, and they'll just keep hitting these devastating moves on each other, and it doesn't look like anything connects. It doesn't look like anything actually really hurts. And a lot of newer wrestlers these days, they struggle to sell. They struggle to make it look real. For me, the best magicians, the best wrestlers are the ones that sell brilliantly. You look at somebody like Brock Lesnar, for example, and he's like huge. He's absolutely massive. And he looks like he could destroy you. But when he's getting hit, he sells it. It looks like he's really in pain. There's some wrestlers in wrestling that are amazing at selling, and it makes them a better wrestler, even if they don't have the move set that the Will Ospreays in the world have. And it's the same thing in magic. If you pull off an impossible trick and just shrug it like it's no big deal, the audience won't care. You've got to sell it. You've got to react to their reaction. You've got to look stunned at the moment. You've got to let the moment land. And you've got to build up how important and how impossible this is. You see this all the time with illusionists. The best illusionists are the ones that will make the audience understand what they are about to see is dangerous. What they are about to see is something that could very possibly hurt. What they are about to, for example, if you were doing the Jaws of Death, for example, which is an iconic Mike Michaels illusion where the magician is hung upside down by their handcuffs with 2 giant sort of spiky arms sticking out, and everything's on fire, and you've got a minute to escape from a straitjacket dangling upside down before you basically get killed. We all know that person is safe, right? But if you had 2 people performing that illusion and the first person spent 5 minutes explaining how dangerous this is, and they're putting their life on the line and so on and so forth, and then you have another person that goes out and just does it and doesn't say a word, I know which is going to be the better performance. I remember seeing Tom Wright, who's an incredible performer, do the many years ago now, do the smash and stab, and before the smash and stab happened, he had a video that was playing on the screen of people that have got it wrong before, and magicians being hurt, which really sold the impossibility. You need to sell how important something is, how dangerous something is, how difficult something is, and then you need to sell it afterwards. You look at Andrew Basso when he comes out of a water tank and he looks like he can barely breathe, and he's also almost died. Now, as well as that, in wrestling, sometimes a move botches, but a great wrestler knows how to turn a mistake into part of the story. You can do the same in magic. A missed control, a flash of the gimmick. Don't panic. React in character. Use it. Build suspense. You know, moves are going to go wrong. Tricks are going to go wrong. But it's how you deal with it that's important. I've done videos on that in the past. But it's the same way that a wrestler deals with a botched move. You know, I can watch wrestler A botch a move and it's just embarrassing because they didn't know how to deal with it. I can watch wrestler B botch a move and you don't even realize because it's gone with the flow. It's the same thing with a mistake in magic. Use your character, build suspense. The audience doesn't care about perfection, they care about the performance. Sell every moment like it matters. Okay, part 5, building a card. Now, a card, I'm not talking about a playing card, a card, I'm talking about the show, the wrestling show. If you watch a wrestling show, the matches that make up the show are the card, okay? And different companies will have different approaches to building a card. WWE these days, in the modern era, they're having less matches on a card. They've got like probably 4, 5, 6 matches. AEW like to go on forever and have like 10 or 12 matches. But wrestling shows in general are structured like this. You have to start hot. Like, you want to have a match on there that everyone cares about, that's going to be high energy, that's going to bring the house down, because you want the audience to be off their seats from the very, very beginning. You see, some wrestlers and some wrestling matches are more methodical, more technical. They're wonderful, they're great, but they're not really kind of exciting. As exciting as somebody, for example, like Ricochet and Will Ospreay. That's a really exciting match because there's a lot going on, right? And there's a million other examples. You want a match like that, something that starts hot, or something that's like a title match, something that actually has ramifications of what's going to happen off the back of that match. Then your mid-card builds tension, and the main event technically should bring the house down. They're not just throwing matches at a wall, there's a rhythm. Now look at your magic set. Are you opening with your best trick? Are you closing with your weakest trick? Are you doing 3 similar routines back to back? If so, you're not thinking like a wrestling booker. Because if a wrestling booker had 3 matches that were almost identical next to each other and kind of basically with the same type of match, the same moves, it would get boring, right? If they opened with a weak matchup and then they closed with, it wouldn't be interesting. The card would die in its arse. Every magic show needs a flow. It needs a rise, it needs a fall, and it needs a climax. Your opener should grab attention. It should be high energy. It should be quick. It should be visual. It should establish credibility. It should grab the audience's attention. Your middle can slow down and get deeper. Maybe you kind of do more of a prediction style thing or a mentalism trick or something that's story based. On your closer should blow the roof off, something they talk about for days. And if you can bring the closer to reference something that happened right at the very beginning, all the better. And within each routine, the same principle applies. Now, wrestling matches are built move by move, each one more intense than the last. If a wrestling match was just 2 guys hitting each other for 10 minutes, it wouldn't be interesting. I've seen matches like that, and it's not interesting. Match structure and psychology is so important in wrestling. Structure matters. Wrestling nails it, and we can apply this to our magic very easily. Think about each individual trick, think about how it flows, think of the structure of each individual trick, and then think of your set list and think of the structure of each individual trick in your set list. Then think of your show and think about each individual trick in your show. You need things to rise and fall and ebb and flow. It's so important. It really is. Okay, so part 6, we're going to look at gimmicks and personas. Now, wrestlers have gimmicks, characters, and personalities. You know when the Undertaker enters. You know that you're going to have the lights come off. He's going to come out like he's a funeral director, unless you're looking at an American Badass. You know what to expect when Stone Cold hits the ramp. And back in the day, there used to be so many wrestlers that had different personas. You'd have clowns and superheroes and this and that and the other. But you know the type of person as well. You understand what the type of person is. You know The Rock is going to be a sarcastic, sort of quip-filled promo. While you know all of your favorite wrestlers. You know exactly what they like. You know what their character is. You know what their personalities are. Now ask yourself a question. What's your magician persona? Are you mysterious? Are you goofy? Are you charming? Are you dark? Are you childlike? Are you snarky? And then what's your motivation? What is it you're doing? Why are you performing magic? What's your reason for performing magic? Too many magicians just perform as some guys doing tricks. And you know what? You can get away with it. You can have a successful career as a close-up magician. You can have a successful career as a stage magician just by the guy going out and doing tricks that nobody really gets because nobody can invest in who they are or what they do. But a persona gives you power. It gives your audience something to remember you by. Look at Ryland. He's got that over-the-top energy. He's got that like really youthful enthusiasm. It's his gimmick and it works. People remember him because he's a character. I'm going to be sharing some videos of Thea over the coming weeks, and you're going to see her character come out on stage. We've been working on it for about 6 or 7 months. She's basically the annoying little sister that's always trying to one-up Ryland. She's trying to make the tricks go wrong. She's trying to make him fail. She wants to see Ryland suffer. Ryland's trying to put up with Thea because he just wants the show to go well. He's trying to be a professional, but he can't help but just get annoyed with her at every single point. She will spend more time trying to make his trick go wrong than she will actually doing what she's told to do. And if he tells her to do something, she's probably going to refuse. That's the gimmick. That's the character. They were in the Young Magicians Club on Saturday, and they were entering the Stage Magician of the Year, and they got through to the finals with their act. And afterwards, one of the judges, and I won't say who, but a very well-known stage performer, came and spoken to them while I was there, and he said to Thea, he said, "You're very much like Pam Thompson. Your character, I'm going to call you Little Pam from now on because that's your character and it works really well for you, and you should lean into that." Now, that wasn't by fluke. That wasn't by chance. That was by design, because I looked at Thea and I was like, you know what? This is the character we need to have you play. When you come out on stage, we need the audience to go, what's she going to do now? What is she going to do now? Your magic persona is your brand. Do people buy into your persona like Ryland and Thea? The sooner you develop it, the sooner your performances are going to stop blending into the crowd. Okay, part 7, crossover moments. Now let's have a little bit of fun. There's always been a lot of crossover between wrestling and magic. I'll never forget seeing, now this guy was around for 0.5 seconds, I can't remember how long, but I remember seeing a wrestler back in the day that was actually a magician, and he made a cane appear as he came down to the stage. He at one point vomited up a mouth coil. I don't think he was around for long. I do remember him, and you can find him on YouTube, but I don't think he was around for long. But The Undertaker used actual illusions in his entrances, rising coffins, lightning bolts disappearing from the ring. He'd regularly get buried alive and disappear and come back a few months later. He'd vanish from one place and appear somewhere else. Bray Wyatt, and now, unfortunately, since Bray passed away, the Wyatt Six, they've built their entire mind-bending characters using magic and illusion principles. They mix horror, psychology, symbolism, pure mentalism energy. I mean, it's another example. Papa Shango, let's go back in the day and look at Papa Shango. Literally voodoo magic tricks. Even Doink the Clown used planks and tricks and misdirection as part of his matches. And on the flip side, magicians like Darren Brown have studied card control and, sorry, not card control, that's a completely different thing. They've studied crowd control and tension the same way wrestling does. It's about emotional engineering. You even see magic tricks used within wrestling. Think fireballs, vanishes, levitations. I've lost count the amount of times when he was a heel, I saw Hulk Hogan light a piece of flash paper and throw it into somebody's eyes. Now, we all know that that wouldn't do anything, but to your general wrestling viewer, oh my God, that guy's just been blinded. You know, it's a show, and anything that adds to the drama they're going to use, because wrestlers understand what magicians often forget. The goal isn't to fool. The goal is to make people feel something. Okay, so final part 8. I want to talk to you about how kayfabe is viewed these days in wrestling, because these days it's kind of blurred, right? A lot of people know that wrestling is not real. A lot of people know these days. In fact, the WWE own it. They put documentaries up on Netflix talking about how, you know, this show was produced and that show was produced and this is what happened backstage and these two guys were fighting in the ring. But then there's this documentary that shows them hugging the second they walk through the gorilla entrance. You know, there's lots of blurred lines in wrestling these days, and that's not a problem at all in any way, shape, or form. Because here's the thing, right? Wrestling has become more popular than ever before. There was a time in wrestling where people were scared, like I said, to let people in on the secret. And I think it was around about the same time that a show went out on TV. They were doing the Masked Magician, and they did a spin-off on wrestling's biggest secrets revealed, and everyone thought that was going to be the death of wrestling. Everybody thought that was it. We're done. That's it. Nobody's going to be able to do a wrestling show anymore because the secret's out. But it became more popular than ever before, because here's the thing: when you watch a movie and you watch a film, you know that, like, your favorite character in that film is not getting the crap kicked out of him, but you're invested in the film. Why? Because you are invested in the film, you're invested in the story, you're invested in the characters. And that's what wrestling is. It's a story put on live right in front of people. Now, it may not be real insofar as, you know, it's predetermined. However, these guys really do get injured and really do get hurt, but kayfabe being blurred did not harm wrestling at all. In fact, it made it more popular than ever before. The same can be said with magic. You know, magicians are scared at the moment. Magicians are scared about, you know, their tricks being revealed, and what happens if people find out that, you know, there's a double lift where you can turn 2 cards over. And you know what? People have been exposing magic for years. We talked about the Masked Magician. People have been exposing magic for years. It hasn't stopped magic being good. It's as popular now as it ever has been. Magic right now is going through a golden era. And no amount of exposure on YouTube and no amount of exposure online has stopped that. If anything, thanks to exposure, more people are getting into magic than ever before. So don't be scared of, you know, the magic community changing. The way that people view magic is changing. That's not a bad thing. Just look at wrestling. Wrestling has become more popular than ever before since people embrace the fact that, you know what? This isn't real, but it's still pretty freaking cool. It's the same thing with magic. You know, it's nice to see the Magic Circle embracing that. They've just had Penn and Teller go into the Magic Circle and they've said, you know what, we've refused entry for 30 years, but we can see a place. The Exposure Committee made a statement saying we can see a place where exposure of magic from a theatrical point of view can be a good thing. So, you know what? Don't worry too much about that online exposure stuff. Don't worry too much about people that are trying to expose magic, because ultimately magic's in a great place and it's more popular now than ever before. So here's the bottom line. Thank you, Stone Cold. If you're a magician and you want to be more than just a trick guy, study wrestling. Not the moves, the showmanship. Not the punches, the performance. Not the fight, the story. Wrestling is theatre. Psychology, emotion, conflict, climax, everything your magic show should be. So next time you're structuring your act or rehearsing your lines or deciding what character you want to be on stage, ask yourself, what would a wrestler do? Because if you can learn to work the crowd like a heel and you can win them over like a face and deliver your closer like a WrestleMania main event, you're not just doing magic anymore, you're putting on a show they'll never forget. I want to say thanks for watching, and here's the thing: if you're a wrestling fan, let me know your favorite wrestler down in the comments. If you're a magician, let me know the first thing you're going to change after watching this video, if anything. Or if you think I'm talking crap, let me know in the comments down below. And remember, whether you're in a ring or you're on stage, protect the business and always leave them wanting more. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to join the Netflix, which is my online streaming platform for magicians. You can get access to everything immediately. I will see you again soon. Really appreciate you watching. My name's Craig, and you have been watching Magic TV.